What's up, everyone, and welcome back. You are watching another episode of Well-Rounded Individual. I am your host, Adam Schindler. Guys, thank you so much for being here. If you are here and you would enjoy this podcast and you haven't already, please click that follow or like or subscribe button below. Just helps me continue to grow the show and bring a better product for you. I have another amazing guest, an amazing show for you today. My guest today is a total badass in entrepreneurship. He is Las Vegas born and raised. He is self-made. He is becoming an icon in the Las Vegas fitness industry. Please, everybody, welcome Michael Sheedy. Thank you for being here, my friend.
That was an awesome intro, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm super happy that we could get together and sit down and just kind of have like unpack a little bit more about like who you are, what you do, and just the value that you bring, because you have so much value that you bring to your clients, to your personal brand, to just the space on the internet in which you are there. You know what I mean? Like the value that you bring on socials. I know there are tons of people that I know that listen to you that you probably have no idea about too.
That's awesome. Oh, that's awesome. That was the goal, starting things. So yeah.
Awesome, dude. So, first question I always ask everyone with this show, the name of it is Well-Rounded Individual. I always like to ask my guests, because I like to bring on people who I would define as well-rounded individuals. You are one.
Thank you.
What are some characteristics or some attributes that you would define as a well-rounded individual, or how would you build like a well-rounded person?
I love that. Yeah. I think number one would be authenticity. I think that's super important. That's a strong value of mine. And I think, if you can stay true to yourself and still be able to help other people, that's probably a very strong character trait of somebody who's well-rounded. I think outside of that, discipline, which is going to be found in anybody who's doing things at a very high level, which encompasses work ethic as well. So I think those two attributes I think are really important for somebody well-rounded. And then I think finding purpose in your work, finding purpose in what you do also helps to create somebody that's character driven as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. Character driven, discipline, authenticity, and kind of like what I heard you say there as well, without like actually saying is providing a value to others.
Yep.
When you're generous with your time, a lot of times people create businesses or create products and it's all about what can I get out of this?
Right. Correct.
But they don't realize that by helping others get to where they want to get to, you ultimately get to where you want to get
100%. Yeah. That's the number one rule to be successful. The better you can help somebody else, the better you can help yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
And I mean, I think it took me a while to realize that too.
Yep.
A little too long, but I'm glad that I've been on that train for a while now. And that's what's so important about like these type of conversations and just like being around other like-minded people who are all looking to grow and like looking to help others grow along the way. Yep. Because it's not just something we're born with innately. Sometimes we have to see other people's doing good and you're like, oh, you know what? Like, seems like a good idea.
Yeah. Definitely.
Cool, man. So let's talk a little bit more about like just your journey. I want to learn more about you.
Definitely.
Because I love that you're self-made. I love that you rode the bus to your first job at Subway.
Yep.
And you quickly learned that, hey, this is not the move for me.
Yep.
And so walk us through that. Like, where'd you start? How did you transition into like just like the massive business that you've created for yourself?
Yeah. No, great question. I think first off, speaking to, being self-made, I think we're all dealt different hands in life, and it's not what you're dealt, it's what you do with it. And I think that was a big monumental shift in my journey, is when I understood that when no one was coming to save me, and I think, I look back at the time and I was, I was in a victim state. I was blaming everybody else for where I was. My parents couldn't afford to buy me a car, and my friends were all in college and I couldn't afford to go to college. I was riding the bus and I look back and you know what, without that, I wouldn't be the person I am today. If I hadn't have gone through times when I was struggling, when I was, I couldn't pay my rent in the first apartment that I lived in because I moved out when I was 18. I'd ask my parents for money and that was a whole nother conversation. Or, I couldn't afford a car, or I had to hustle to try to find a job. if I was handed those things, I wouldn't have the work ethic that I have today. So I think it's super important that we look at our circumstances as not something that can negatively define us, but it can be something that we can actually use to our advantage,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it may be, both negative and positive. So yeah, just from the start, yeah, I grew up low income. You know, I grew up in a single parent home. You know, my mom took care of us for most of the time. We split time with my dad. My dad was like an absolute savage in sales. So that's where I actually started to learn a little bit about marketing and sales because his communication skills were crazy. Like when I was 12 years old, he would have me talk to random strangers in public. He'd be like, "Hey, talk to this person," and I was shy, so that helped me to start to become a better communicator. And just watching him just absolutely crush it. But we were with my mom who didn't make a lot of money. We lived in apartments, and at one point, we even had to live in one of those like long-term like motels
Yeah, I know what you're talking
because
about.
we got evicted from one of the apartments we were in. I've never actually told that live, but that was something that happened. So yeah, we didn't have a lot of money. You know, I remember sometimes we would have to use juice for our cereal because we ran out of milk or she couldn't afford it.
Mm.
But regardless, those are the things that that really pushed me to become better because I realized that no one was going to do it for me. So growing up that way, I started in a place where I didn't have anything handed to me. I saw people that had nice cars or they were able to do the things they want to do. And I was like, well, I want to do that too. And I realized I need to do something about it. So I read a personal development book. My dad actually is the one who gave it to me. The book is called As a Man Thinketh.
I have it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best philosophy book. It was the first book I ever read outside of traditional schooling and education, and changed my life. It changed the way that I thought. It changed my perspectives, and that's when I really started getting disciplined with my fitness. That's when I started to fall in love with working out, and ultimately found a passion for doing it to help me, and then I wanted to help other people do it too.
I love that. How
Yeah.
old were you at this time?
So I started working out, getting into the gym when I was like 17 or 18, just because I was really skinny and I wanted to put muscle on, but I was still, undisciplined with other habits.
Right.
I was drinking with friends and I
Yeah.
was, doing things like that. And it was about 20 that I read that book. And so I can say at 20 years old, I found certainty in the direction that I wanted to go. And that's when I really fell in love with like fitness as a passion and as a purpose of helping other people. And I wanted to make it into a career. So I looked up to people like Steve Cook. He was like a pioneer in the fitness industry, seeing him on the cover of Muscle Fitness. And I was like, well, I want to be that guy. I want to be able to work out for a living. And ultimately that's what I've been building my life and designing my life to do, from there.
I love that. And that's so awesome that like you're able to take those lessons. Like that shows a lot of maturity. Like
Yeah.
even if like we're young, we're still doing things like drinking, partying
Yeah.
with our friends. We're
Yeah.
still learning from those tough times.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I mean? Like having those tough times as a kid
Yeah.
allowed you to be like, I don't want to live like that and make that change at 20 years old.
Yeah.
A lot of times kids who don't have to go through that, go to college, then they don't even realize that till they're 28.
Yeah. Later on in life. Yeah. Yeah. I'm grateful for it. I'm actually grateful for all of the hard times for sure.
That's awesome. So is that when you like transitioned into like training? Did you like immediately be like, all right, I'm going
Yeah.
to be a trainer?
Yeah.
Did you think like at first you wanted to do, cause I know you've done competition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you want to go through the competitive route first or were you thinking like business route first?
Yeah, great question. I did my first competition, bodybuilding. It was men's physique when I was 19 years old. I just turned 20 actually, so I couldn't do the team division. And at the time, I wasn't a personal trainer, but I had one.
Mhm.
And I got a personal training certification to actually learn more about nutrition because I was like, well, I want to understand this because the more that I learn, the better I can be. And I realized the only gap separating me from somebody at a high level in fitness was just knowing more and understanding more. So I got my personal training certification not to become a personal trainer. I got fired from a job at Yard House that I was working when I was 20. This was before I got serious. So it all happened in like a year period. Before I got serious, I got fired for being late because I was smoking weed with my friends and I forgot that I had to work. So I got fired, which is good. I deserved to be fired at the time, like, but when it happens in the moment, you're like devastated. So without me getting fired from Yard House, we wouldn't be sitting across the table from each other.
Right.
Right. So it's crazy, the butterfly effect, right? Had my personal training certification. I had to make rent. I was like, well, I can use this right now. Let me go to Gold's Gym. So I went to Gold's Gym before it was EOS. got a job there, and I made $8 a session. They were 30-minute sessions, so I made $16 an hour ultimately. And it was just, I loved helping people there, but I hated working there because it was so corporate. They made you tuck your shirt in, and I was working with senior citizens, which isn't the niche that I really wanted to get into. My trainer at the time, my personal trainer who helped me with the competition, he's like, hey man, I'm working out of another gym that allows you to pay an overhead. All you need is one client. It's $300 a month, and you can basically make all the money yourself instead of splitting it with the gym. I was like, why not? So at 20 years old, I made that decision. I found my first client, and I paid rent at the gym. From there, I started training clients at the gym. There was a guy there that was doing really well in his own personal training business. And he asked me to work for him because he saw my work ethic. And I learned from him for the next probably 3 to 4 years on how to run a business and how to market as well.
Wow.
Before I went on my own again.
That's awesome, man. And I wanted to talk about this. I have it written down. That's something that you talk about a lot. And you talk about it because you practice it. And you talk about mentorship.
Correct.
And so it seems as if like this guy like could have possibly been your first mentor.
He was my mentor. Yeah, he was my mentor. Definitely my first mentor. And I'm a very firm believer in if somebody is doing what you want to do, you need to learn how to get around them and you need to learn from them. But that can only happen in a place where you have humility and work ethic.
Right. Because you can't just take value.
No, you
can't. You have to add something.
There has to be something that you're giving in return.
Yeah, it has to be a give and take relationship.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't just ask to pick his brain. He saw me working hard and he's like, hey, want to come work for me? And I was like, great, I'm going to learn from you at the same time. This is basically a paid internship.
Yeah,
but know, since then I've spent a lot of money outside of that on actual paid mentorship because I that's where I've seen a lot of success for my own self as well.
Right. And it's so cool that first one wasn't like you seeking, right? It was because of the work that you had done.
Correct.
It was someone in a position of like, oh, I see something in this guy.
You got it.
So did that like kind of build your confidence? You're like, oh, this guy who's like awesome thinks that I can do this.
Oh
too.
yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. And I knew it was based off of my potential, you know what I mean? And that was communicated with me. So, I mean, some things happen and some things are just timing. Some things are just luck and a combination of the three. But I think if you're not prepared for the opportunity or you want it, you're not going to see it. So I think just your own preparation and then looking for opportunity is the most important part.
Right. Yeah. And I have a question for you about like paid mentorships that you've done.
Yeah.
Because I think about that quite a bit. I've had like different mentors. I've like had business coaches and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But I always think, because like I see like these famous coaches, guys like Ed Milet, right?
Yeah.
That I listen to him weekly.
Yeah.
And he's just got, so much value and he just brings like this energy with him all the time. But a lot of times he says some things that like I've already been thinking for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not like they're rewriting like how to do things. Right? Do you think that it's probably a combination of just implementation of the things or just like being in a circle that opens you to other people that will allow you to grow?
Yeah, great question. I think that value is everywhere, but a coach helps you with implementation, whether it's a fitness coach or a business coach. They're helping you avoid the things that maybe you wouldn't see unless they were with you, right? On top of that, I think belief systems are so important to basically limiting beliefs are what hold people back. Whether it's you don't believe that eating carbs will actually help you build muscle and you need to be on a keto diet, or whether it's you believe that you shouldn't be paid a certain amount for a service that you provide. If you can be around somebody that can crush that limiting belief because they've conquered it themselves, that's worth its money in gold.
Right. Well, that perception is reality.
Yeah, it's everything. Perspective is extremely important, and belief systems can change based on the people that you're around, both negative or positive.
Right.
But we can't control what we're born into. And typically our belief systems that we first have in life are from our parents and our environment. Yeah. So you got to get in a new environment.
Yeah. And it's tough to do that sometimes because especially growing up around a place that does have poverty and you see things from that perspective in that point of view,
Yeah.
it's hard to break out sometimes for multiple reasons because you've never seen like a specific amount of money
You got it.
before. You don't know anyone that
Yeah.
spends this kind of money on said product.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then when you start to be around these people, there's a second barrier that you have to overcome of, okay, now I'm thinking this way.
Correct.
Now I know that it's possible.
Yep.
But then everyone from your old life
Crabs in a barrel.
is still trying to tell you or making fun of you because you think you're like big shit or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you navigate that? Have you ever had to deal with that type of thing?
I've grown out of many relationships,
Mhm.
when I was 20 years old and I stopped smoking weed all the time and I stopped partying.
Yeah.
There was a group of friends that I no longer connected with. And I think I've had great discernment naturally in that area where I was like, all right, I know that I have a vision. I know that I have a purpose for myself and a gift that's greater than me. And if these people don't align with that, then that's okay, because I know I can help a lot of people by moving forward.
Yeah, that takes a lot of really good emotional intelligence, I think.
Yeah.
Just the ability to be able to separate that, because there's no hard feelings about it.
Right.
It's just that, like, I just can't be here anymore
Yep. Yeah.
if I want to do what I want to do.
Yeah. And naturally those people will weed themselves out of your life.
Yeah,
right?
for
If
sure.
you're threatening to them in any way, either they'll tell you directly or you'll be able to. I think intuition is huge. And if you feel that somebody is threatened by you or the things you're doing make them uncomfortable just because they're not doing them, then hey, they don't need to be a part of your life.
Yeah, for sure. And,
Yeah.
You want to surround yourself with exactly what you want to be.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
It's something that's said all the time. Like,
Yep.
surround yourself with 5 winners, you're going to be the 6th.
Dude, it's everything. You can look at somebody's friend group and I can tell you exactly who they are or who they're going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, there's so much value in that for anyone that is struggling with that. Do what you know you should.
Yeah.
So you personal trained
Yep.
and you were very successful for a long time, like in person.
Yep.
Right. But you're kind of just like burning the midnight oil,
Correct.
candle at both ends.
Yep.
Just like,
Yep.
cause I'm in a gym a lot too. I do a good job, I think, of like, I'm definitely not maximizing monetarily,
Right.
but I live a good life, but like I could more, but like in person, trading time for money
Yeah.
becomes tough.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about just like where you were in that space?
Yeah.
Doing great, changing people's lives, but knowing that like I need some time back type thing. But I also want to exponentialize my business. How did you do that transition?
Yeah, great question. I was a personal trainer for 10 years, right? So I had quite a lot of experience with in-person training, and I built a very successful in-person business. And my goal always, was to 10X whatever I was doing. I read Grant Cardone's book, the 10X rule. And, a lot of these guys, right? It's all like same information, just told differently. But I truly wanted to do 10 times better than what I was doing. And I tried to do that in personal training and realized that there's a ceiling because of how many hours you work in a day. And even if you own a gym, there's still a ceiling there, right? So I started looking into ways that I could not only scale my time more, so I'm not spending 70 hours a week. Sure, I was, I made $250,000 a year personal training, but I was still in the gym, 60 hours. I couldn't, travel without telling my clients. So I started to see how much success that other coaches were having in the online space. And in December of 2022, exactly 2 years ago, I decided to actually hire my first paid mentorship. And that's fundamentally what was also a life-changing moment for me. And that's when I started online coaching. And kind of the last 2 years, I know we've just been connected in this last year, but the last 2 years have been like a boomerang, uptick. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I love that for you. And it's just risk to reward.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Which I've always done. I was already used to that, right? Like my back's always been against the wall. So there's no safety net.
That's awesome, man. I love to hear that. You also, risk to reward, you can take big risks, but not reap the reward without the work and without the
Backing
right implementation and the right plan. But, you tend to just like your clients just absolutely crush it.
Yeah.
And,
Thank you.
You got so many just like on paper, visual proof of what you do works. where do you think that comes from? Is it something that you do differently? Is it like a formula that you use, or do you think that you just like connect with these people and they trust you enough to like do the work?
I think a lot of it comes from my own conviction and my own journey, because fitness fundamentally changed my life, both in a personal sense and a business sense. Personally, it helped me to get out of some bad habits that were, ultimately keeping me stuck. And then outside of that, it allowed me to have the discipline in it, and it really forged the work ethic for me to be successful because of my habits in business, right? Like I'm able to show up every day because I have a clear mind and healthy body. I'm able to be sharp and have conviction with my clients for that reason. So, I've done 12 bodybuilding competitions, men's physique. I've gotten down to like 3% body fat 15 times over the last,
Yeah.
11 years. So I have quite a bit of experience with understanding fundamentally the nutritional value of food and
Right.
how it works with your body and your mind. So I think anecdotal evidence over the years, just with my own body and then my own conviction in my purpose and fitness, I'm able to communicate it in a way and also give my clients a blueprint that's not only going to help them get in shape, but also help them have, the mental clarity and energy that they need. So that's kind of my blueprint.
Cool. Leading by example.
Yeah, big time. I
Once
think
you
it's
do
important.
it, like it's so much easier to duplicate.
Yeah.
And that comes back to something, I wasn't even thinking about this, but how important is it for your personal brand to be a walking representative
Yeah.
of the product
Yeah.
that you want to display?
Yeah. I mean, I think like the word personal brand is such a buzzword right now.
Right.
But it's great. Basically, your personal brand is your own personal image and the marketing ultimately that you display and how you separate yourself in a saturated market.
Right.
I had, probably a limited belief that a lot of trainers and coaches have is, well, everybody else is doing it, so how am I going to get clients? Well, you're different than me. Like you sitting across the table, you're a completely different individual than I am. So the only way that we can separate ourselves is with our own personal spin on it, right? Your personal brand, your opinions, your habits, your discipline. What separates you from the person next to you? And I really lean into that with my content. And also just my training style and how I do things to stand out.
Yeah. You bring up a good point right there. Like your own personal way you do things. And going back to another Grant Cardone book, I read Sell or Be Sold.
Yeah.
Back in like probably 21. It was like right whenever it was like out of the pandemic. I started an online coaching business as well. And there was a part in this book that said, like when you're creating something, you don't want to just sell a product. You want to provide a high-end service.
Yep.
Right. And so that's how I've like my in-person coaching, just like even just like personal relationships. Like that's how I've always tried to treat everyone that I work with, everyone that I talk to, everyone that I'm friends with, that like I'm providing a high-end service. And when you can think about it like that, not only do you provide like just like a product that is better, but people like you more.
Correct.
And it just gives you more leeway with, just your ability. I think it also increases your confidence and your ability to see your value. Because you're like, oh, this person who isn't providing a high-end service is curating a business that has this much revenue.
Right.
And I'm at the same level, but I'm doing all this. No, I deserve more.
Right. Yep.
Type thing.
Yeah.
So knowing your value it helps as well.
100%. I agree. And then that's how you communicate to the market is also really important. You do that through your personal brand as well.
Yeah. So I kind of want to talk about like longevity and just like staying, because I think that like you stay lean year round. Typically.
Yeah.
As do I.
Yeah.
I don't ever do like a bulk and a cut or anything like that. Just because like I grew up grappling, and so I was basically starving myself.
Yeah, right.
And then
restriction.
I was just like so up and down all the time that I'm like, I don't want to eat more than I have to, and I don't want to eat less than I have to. Like I want to like feel good all the time.
Yeah. Satiated.
But also just lifestyle, right?
Right. Correct.
And when you live your
Yeah.
lifestyle that way, I think is another like really great just like factor of like, oh, this person's always on. It's a
Yeah.
trust factor.
Right. Facts. Yeah, it's huge. I agree.
It
Yeah.
leads into longevity as well.
Yeah.
I was listening to Mike Israetel on he was on Modern Wisdom yesterday.
Okay.
Do you know Mike Israetel?
I don't.
He owns like RPG training. He's like he was actually just filming it strip barbell like during Olympia.
Okay.
But he's like short and he's like kind of like built like a bulldog.
Gotcha.
Bald head, white
super
guy.
muscular. Yeah.
Yeah. But he was talking about longevity, and he's like been like really open like with his past use of PEDs
Right.
and gear. Right. So, but he was talking about like the difference between like longevity and quality within the longevity. Cause he's like, you know, I'm 5'6" and 235 pounds. That isn't I am not the recipe for longevity.
Right. Yeah.
He's like, but there's like this, you know, balance between living a good life for as long as you can and then like extending it for no reason. Right. So when it comes to like people, especially like I know a lot of guys that are like in their like 20s, even late 20s, early 30s that are like doing gear, starting like TRT, things of that nature. What are your thoughts on that? Like, as far as like longevity goes, like, do you see it as like, if it's helping you like improve your performance, like, is it an overall benefit? Is it like a case by case basis? What do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think before anything, like I always go the responsible route, you know, and that's getting blood work done. I think if you can get like, regardless of PED use, everybody should get blood work done, like a full comprehensive lab. Or labs done. But if you do decide to use PEDs, and if you do decide to go that route, you need to be responsible and make sure that you're getting blood work done consistently so you can manage the side effects, because there's always side effects with anything. But yeah, are you shortening your lifespan by doing that? Sure. But I also believe that like there's purpose in certain things. And if you're a bodybuilder and that's your purpose and that's what gives you satisfaction and you're giving back to others through that, like Chris Bumstead uses steroids.
Right.
Are we saying anything negative about that? No. Exactly, why? Because he just became the Mr. Olympia again. Right. So I think it's what you do with it, right? Like if you're utilizing PEDs and steroids, you're not getting blood work and you're partying. Yeah, you're just stupid. Like, you know, that doesn't make sense. So I think, yeah, of course, without PEDs, you can find longevity, but even somebody not on testosterone or steroids can live a shorter life if they don't get blood work done to see if something is wrong with them.
That's a really good point.
So yeah, I think it's case by case basis. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that's a really good perspective. You know, I've always kind of like thought like, until recently, kind of like black and white about it. Like, yes, no, you know what I mean? Like drugs, no drugs type thing.
Yeah.
But especially with like the like advent of like medically prescribed testosterone and things of that nature, it's, you know, when you're buying Anavar under the table, it's a little bit different. You know what I mean? You're not getting your blood work. Obviously, that's not the best route to go.
Right.
But it's totally manageable, you know, long term.
Yep.
Especially like I've heard of a lot of like business guys who don't even compete, just being like, oh, I got my levels done and, you know, I got prescribed TRT and now like I'm so much better at business.
Yeah. I mean, it helps with mental clarity. It helps with focus. It helps with motivation. It helps with sleep. And I think like the world we live in today and the environment is basically enabling lower testosterone levels in men because of the heavy metals and toxins found in our water. Because of all the processed foods, naturally our testosterone levels have dropped over time. The solution, of course, to that, number one, is having a clean diet and really focusing on getting the right minerals in. But genetically speaking, and also because of the environment, sometimes it makes more sense to get blood work done and hop on, you know, some TRT, and that's going to literally could potentially be life-changing for some men. So I think it's a great advancement that we've had medically and in our society where it's less taboo.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you on that too, because I've thought about it multiple times. Like, and here's
Do you
the
know
thing.
your levels?
I don't.
Okay.
Like, I've talked to people about it before, and they're like, dude, like, you run 50 miles a week.
Yeah.
Like you're not like losing any like mass when you do it. Like you're probably good. And I'm like, yeah, I'm probably good. But I still want to do it. And I need to do it just to see where I'm at.
You should get your blood work done. I think, I mean, if anything, give you peace of mind. Like you don't look like you're a low T guy. That's a compliment to you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that unless it was true, but it's good to know, where are you at, right? Nanograms, nanograms per deciliter.
Yeah. And going back to like, I think the everyday man now, like that implementing it kind of like opened up, like it took a stigma off of it, because you used to think like competition, like it's not just for competition anymore. No. It's for like quality of
well-being,
life. Well-being.
Yeah. It's massive.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And cause I'm doing competitions now too. And like, I'm wondering, I wonder if these other guys.
Yeah. I bet you they're dabbling. Are they testing in your competitions?
Yeah. Oh no. No.
I guarantee you 70 to 80% of the people that are competing in high rocks are using PEDs.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
I would say so.
You want to be at a high level. Yeah. Level the playing field. Go get your blood work done.
Yeah. That's what I'm taking away the most from this is that I'm definitely getting that done.
Yeah.
So what are you looking to do? Like, what are your plans? Like, where do you grow from here? Where do you grow from here? Like, you've created a business. You work with like 6, 7, 8, 9-figure earning men.
Yep.
Which is just like, you're changing people's lives. These are very busy men. Do you have like a ceiling on like how many people that you work with, and what kind of like schedule does that entail?
Yeah, no, I mean, growth is the only option. I think if you're not growing, you're dying. I know it sounds extreme, but it's true. Like if you're not focused on a goal and you're just maintaining, you're probably sliding backwards in some areas. So I'm always focused on, my own, personal goals, my fitness goals, my business goals. So the growth, from here is just to continue to really create more omnipresence for my own personal brand, Michael Sheedy. So that I can help more people and scale the business that way. I don't have a, an amount of people that I can or can't take on, because I'll just hire more team members. So I currently have a couple team members that work for me and help me.
I get it.
So I'm involved, of course, in all the fulfillment with clients, and I'm talking to everybody all the time. But what I've realized in the business as I scale, you need people to help, and that's kind of where I'm at and growing currently.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to take it back again. Like, we talked about masculinity earlier, and I watched a reel of yours talking about like men and like if you want a high value, like being a high value man, and if you want a high value woman, and the things that you need to do.
Right. Yeah.
You can't just expect a high value woman and split the bill.
Right.
And not treat her in a specific way.
Yeah.
What do you think that like the younger generation is missing when it comes to, what are they missing when it comes to like success and being like, I don't want to say this word, I don't want to say alpha, but like a masculine leader.
Yeah.
And what are they getting right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
do you see a difference?
Yeah. So, and you're speaking about maybe the value in like, let's say like the sexual marketplace, right?
Yeah.
Like
your ability, that as well.
Yeah. Your ability to be seen by the opposite sex and ultimately, be in a relationship you're happy with. Like, I'll preface it by this. Not everybody wants the same type of relationship. You know, some people are happy to have, more equal kind of roles. I personally believe that like more traditional relationships are going to be healthier and successful, like for a family unit. And that means a man's main purpose is really, we find a lot of purpose in work, right? If like, there's many, many examples of like guys who were playing in the NFL and they retired and they like get depressed.
Yeah.
Because they're not doing what they love to do. Sure. Or there's like guys who retire after working their whole life and then they slowly get sick and die. There's so much purpose for men in work. And I'm not saying women shouldn't work. Yeah. Have your passion, have your purpose. But men biologically were made to be like hunters and gatherers. And so I think that now in today's society is more being able to provide, at a high level for a family. And I think when you can do that, a woman feels more that she can be safe to be herself and kind of be in the nurturing role where she doesn't have to be hyper independent.
Right.
But on the other side, and I didn't speak on this on my reel on Instagram, just because a woman wants a traditional man who can be a provider, that also means that she needs to be also a traditional woman, right? Which comes with like, what are you putting out on social media? What kind of person are you? And I think it goes both ways.
Right.
Yeah. So I think what's missing really is just the perspective of understanding that our psychology and ultimately the health of our society is based, I believe, on procreation and having a healthy family unit. Disagree with me if you want. If you don't want a family, that's okay. But that's really biologically what we're driven to do.
Yeah. No, I would agree with you on that too. And I think it comes back to just like, especially with the younger generation, because things have changed so much in the last 20 years. Like when I was 20 years ago, I was 21. I'm 41 now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there was no such thing as social media. So like
Yeah.
we were like going out to the bars, and to talk to a girl, you had to buy her drinks.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to go out, you had to take her out, and you had to call her.
Yep.
You couldn't text her.
Yep.
You know, things of that nature. But also on the other end too, you have to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Right. So like I see a lot of times like now, like women want the princess treatment,
Right.
but then don't fulfill their end of the bargain.
You got it. Exactly.
Of like, I want to be treated, but I also want to do whatever the heck I want.
Yeah.
And
that's an interesting conversation. I think that too many women are looking for commitment without first showing that there's a commitment that should be made.
Right.
Right. But I think that also is, they probably are backing off on that because of how many men are in a weaker state, maybe lower testosterone levels. Maybe they're not as purpose driven as they used to be. So I think it goes both ways.
Right.
I think it's fixing itself. I think with the right people, we got to start with ourselves first, and we can impact others. But I think it's going to come full circle, and I think things will get better.
I think a lot of things are kind of like starting to like even out now after like the craziness that has been like the last 8 years or so. Things are starting to like even out a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's fun. It's a fun subject.
Yeah.
It's an interesting subject.
It's good. It's controversial.
Because,
it's good. Yeah.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
But I would agree with you on that as well. So transitioning, you do a lot of charity work as well.
Yeah.
I really love that. Like you provide like backpacks for schools, and like you've like done like over $50,000 worth of, just like school supplies and things of that nature. Talk about your charity.
Every year. Yeah. So for the past few years, I partnered with Foodie Fit Meal Prep, a local company in Hans Schneider, which is a nonprofit organization for kids. And we've raised $50,000 for the last 8 years to provide backpacks and school supplies to low income kids and students here in Las Vegas, which is, as you know, something I have a conviction behind,
right?
Because I'm sure, at times my mom probably struggled with that. So being able to give back to them and have the platform that I have to be able to make that happen, has been something that I've loved to be a part of, and giving back to the community that I've been born in.
Right.
Yeah.
So how'd you come up with that? Were you just like one day you were just like, you know what, like this sounds like a good idea, and you just took action on it?
Well, the owner of Foodie Fit, Alex Lee, he's the one who actually approached me.
Okay.
Yeah, he was like, "Hey man, do you want to be a part of this? Like, do you want to help to donate?" So I've donated money through my own business to raise money, but then what I've done utilizing my platform is I've been able to actually get other business owners to donate as a tax write-off and also to be a part of it themselves.
Okay.
So yeah, just year after year, we just go, okay, let's make it happen. And we make it happen because the money's not there until we make it there. And then we're able to throw this really cool event for the kids and like get all the backpacks together. So yeah, it's been awesome.
I love that. Like if you build it, they will come.
Yeah, man.
Type mindset.
Yep.
That just goes back to just like perception is reality.
Yep.
You see something, you take action.
Yep.
I think that's what a lot of people, I know that I missed that for a long time because I was like, I was overanalyzing everything. I'm like, how I wanted to do this and that, like as I was, transitioning from thing to thing to thing to thing. And so many people miss that of just like start to build it, stay consistent with it, do it for a good reason, have structure, but take action first and foremost.
Yeah. Yeah. Imperfect execution beats perfect procrastination.
Yeah, 100%. So what do you think is the most like important thing to get people to understand that? Because
Just,
you
yeah.
say that to somebody, they're like, 1 out of 10 is going to be like, let's go work.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then 9 out of 10 are going to have so many different questions, be like, well, what do you mean? And like,
Yeah. Yeah. I think people won't be ready to change until they're ready to change.
yeah,
You know, so typically
Maybe.
that comes from being in a painful position.
Yeah.
You know, typically you're in pain, or you've tried to solve a problem long enough, but you can't force anybody to do anything they don't want to do.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for the answer and you're ready for the opportunity, and you have enough pain to change, you don't like your current position
Yeah.
enough. Like some people just have to hit rock bottom
Right.
before they do anything about it. That's fine. You have to let them.
Yeah.
You know, I think once they're at that point, then it's the separating factor is just creating momentum through action.
Yeah.
Right. Manifestation doesn't happen through thought; it happens through action, but it starts in your mind.
Yeah. No, that's a great, I love that saying. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I just lost my thought. I was going to add on to that. I was looking at you and I was like, this is what I'm going to say.
No, you're all
next.
good, man. No, you're all good. You're all good.
Then
Yeah.
it left me.
No, it was a banger. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, just like getting that mindset right, and it can change everything.
100%.
It can change
Yeah,
everything.
perspectives.
Let's talk about biohacking.
Okay.
I'm kind of like I'm a super, what do they call the MMA fans? Casual.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
a
yeah.
casual. I'm a super casual when
yeah,
it comes
yeah.
to biohacking. So like,
Copy. Yeah.
I know the word biohacking. Like,
Yeah.
I listen to like guys like Dave Asprey
Yeah.
and the longevity guys as well. Hot cold therapy,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
NAD, things of that nature. What is biohacking to you? How would you explain it? And what are the things that most like excite you about it?
Yeah, I think biohacking is ultimately hacking your own biology to help it to work for you in a better way. Specifically from I would say more of like a mental standpoint, like a focus standpoint. I'm not super deep in it, but I definitely have experimented with biohacking and what it does for my overall well-being. And I've utilized that with some of my clients. Here's the thing: not everybody wants to do. If they can't get their diet done, you shouldn't be biohacking. So that's where like biohacking is what's called esoteric. It's something that's deeper. It's a deeper health modality that you can utilize to improve physical and mental well-being and ultimately mental focus as well. So, I've experimented with things like methylene blue, which is ultimately was created as a medical dye, but it was originally also used to treat malaria, and now has been found to increase the amount of oxygen delivered to your cells in your brain. So I started using that last year for a little bit, and that actually helped me tremendously because it can also help to improve like symptoms from TBI, like traumatic brain injuries, like concussions. I started boxing 5 years ago, and I believe that I started to accrue probably some brain cells that weren't working as well because they weren't getting oxygen from having concussions. I started using methylene blue, and it literally improved my focus and my mental clarity almost immediately. That's when I really started to do better. Like not do better in business, but I had some really, really good months in business while I was like kind of utilizing that. So that's something that I've utilized. One of my friends created a company called Meraki Medicinal. And that's one of the products that they have. So that's why I started using it. And then something recently I started experimenting with is nicotine as well. Nicotine is actually a really powerful nootropic. It improves memory recall. It improves focus. It improves your mood as well. When you're not smoking it, you can use it in pouch form or
right. There's gum too, right?
Yeah, there's gum, but it actually decreases risk of actually improves basically your cognitive and neuro function. So it reduces risk of Alzheimer's and dementia as well. So anyways, like things like that, infrared light therapy is something I'm really big on as well, but that's not everybody understands it or knows about it, but there's studies that back up these things that actually improve your well-being and cognitive function.
Red light therapy, like infrared sauna.
Infrared sauna is great, right? It depends what wavelength that the lights are at, because each light penetrates at different levels in your body depending on the wavelength. So anything over 800 nanometers is going to be a strong enough wavelength to penetrate deep enough to have more profound effects. Because like, you ever see those red light masks that women wear?
Yeah.
Like for their skin. I mean, guys can do it too. I see women wear it all the
Yeah.
time. That just penetrates skin deep. It doesn't go all the way into your body, because those wavelengths can penetrate deeper than skin, right? And when they do that, you have the benefits hormonally, your circadian rhythm and your sleep, your mood and your well-being. So that's something that I have some of my clients utilize that are looking for the next level of well-being and overall health.
Cool. What was the thing called? Something blue?
Methylene blue.
Methylene blue.
Highly recommend trying it. There's ultimately zero side effects. Of course, with anything you want to, of course, this is not medical advice, by the way, but of course, with disclaimer, with anything you want to cycle things, right? Like I used it for like 3 months and then I haven't used it much since then. But I think it's something that is very powerful as a nootropic, nootropic being mental stimulation to help you focus. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's something I'd be interested in. I've had so many concussions.
Dude,
like
I'm telling you.
Football, car accidents, fighting, knockouts, things of that nature.
It could be so my best friend, he fractured his orbital and got a severe concussion in an MMA fight. And he was sitting in his house and he was researching ways to heal his brain. He came across this, he started using it, and immediately his brain, he could see colors more clearly. Like it changed his world, and he started the company because of that concussion.
Wow.
And he now his company's going to make $3 million this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Methylene blue is the product, and then
yeah.
his company is called Meraki Medicinal.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Going back to like taking adversity and taking the worst thing that ever happened to you and turning it into a positive.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Right? It's pretty incredible.
There's so many times in life and instances every day really that happen that can ultimately, suffering leads to growth.
Yeah. If you allow it.
And if you can see it that way.
Yep. Perspective.
If you can just allow yourself to see it that way.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah.
I was watching a reel this morning. My buddy Tino from Atlanta.
Yeah.
He put a reel up this morning, and he was this guy's they were just on a podcast talking. He's like, I don't want to like be around someone who just had success right off the rip.
Right. Yeah.
He's like, I want to be around the people who failed over and over and over and over and over again and then won.
Yeah.
Because that's why there's so many one-hit wonders.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Walk out the gate with a home run.
Right. Yeah.
You expect home runs all the time, you know?
Yeah. No character built.
Right.
Yeah.
So important to be able to like fail for multiple reasons, I think. Not just to know that it's a possibility, but for courage. Because it takes a lot of courage to get your ass beat.
Oh, yeah.
And come back.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
And that's another thing about a lot of times, I think, with social media culture as well. Everyone's trying to look perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a problem.
And
major problem.
When you're not looking perfect, it can ruin your life. But it takes some people so long or too long to recognize that this is a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thankful that I've lost so much, because just like you said, if you wouldn't have got fired, you wouldn't be where you are right now. You know, I think about that a lot too, like in like my career personally, because I've had 2 ACL surgeries. You know, I had some tough losses like on the higher level circuits, and then I was coming back and ACL,
MMA.
and MMA.
Yeah, sick.
And I tore my ACL, and then I rehabbed it, and I tore it again. This was when I was like 30.
Damn.
And so at that point, I was like, I can do anything and make money. Like, I don't have to fight for money.
Right. Yeah.
So I was thinking, my logical side of my brain, I let the ego go, and I was like, I want to be able to like run and like have like throw my grandkids around and stuff like that whenever, I'm 60 and 65 and 70. I was like, man, because MMA, combat sports are hard on the body.
Unless you're at a high level, it doesn't make sense.
I mean, it doesn't make sense, but even at the high level,
they're not getting paid that much.
Oh my goodness. Like
personal brand.
Yeah.
Look at Sean O'Malley. The reason he did so well is because he created such a strong social media following. Anyways, to tie back into that.
He doesn't even financially need to fight, but
right. But it comes back to that. Yeah, it's insane how much fighters make at such a high level. Like how much they don't make at such a high level, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember the first time I ever made $10,000 to fight it was in like 2011. And I was fighting on TV. It was like I was in this. You remember when Bellator had the tournaments? This is like 2011, right? So they used to have.
That was when I just started watching MMA, so I was only watching UFC at that time. Yeah.
Bellator used to have tournaments, and like so you would get in and like you would fight for $100,000. Like so you
was
would
it
have
all in one night?
No. It was like once a month. You fought once a month. So if you won the tournament, you only got $100,000. So that was 3 fights. It was 10 and 10, 15 and 15, and then I think 20 and 30 or 30 and 20.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But I was like, at that point, I was like, oh, finally. I was like 9 fights in.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, oh, finally, I make enough money.
Right. Yeah.
And then tax.
Yeah.
Coaches.
Yep.
Gyms.
Yep.
Things of that nature. It's wild.
Yeah.
And how much.
Yeah.
Just an understanding, the type of understanding that Sean had to be able to like
create
set
that
himself up in a way, and also being able to win.
I mean, he's an incredible fighter.
Yeah,
the dude is extremely
fighter.
talented. Yeah.
But that's what I always think. I was like, man, like I wish I was born 10 years later.
Yeah.
So I was born in 93 instead of 83.
Right. Just because the game, I mean, the guys at the top, it was Tito, it was Chuck Liddell, it was Rashad Evans, it was, Shamrock.
Yeah.
Like
in my day, BJ was the man.
BJ Penn.
BJ Penn.
Yeah.
And whew, man.
But those were the guys, and even back then, because of where the UFC is at, I guarantee they weren't making like insane money. They weren't like,
BJ was one of the most high paid guys back in this is like 2007, 2008, 2009. And I remember looking like,
you know how much he was making?
Disclose it. It was, I don't want to be wrong, but it was $300,000
for
I think,
a year.
I think
for a year
show
or fight?
And win per fight.
That's
pretty. Yeah,
that was good back then.
Yeah, that was really good back then.
But that was
he was
like the massive
star.
pay-per-view events. Yeah.
He was like the biggest star.
That's sick.
But yeah, it's come a long way, and just like the whole landscape of fighting, and then just like fitness, and just like being able to like entrepreneurship has come such a long way.
Opportunities.
Yeah, the opportunities are everywhere, and just the ability to be able to do it, but you have to be able to put in the work.
Yep, I agree.
For someone, I think we got about 6 minutes to go.
Yeah, you're good.
For someone who sees you and sees this guy who is in incredible shape, has, this, very successful business that he's running from home online, they see the product, but they didn't see what you went through to get there. Yeah. Right. So everyone sees the end product of what
the tip of the iceberg.
What they ultimately want.
Right. Yeah.
They don't necessarily see the sacrifice, the hard times, and things that you had to overcome to get there. Mm-hmm. What's some advice that you would give someone who's starting today and wants to do what you've done?
Yeah, I think the most important piece of advice that I would give is like, before you try to emulate somebody else just to emulate them, you got to figure out what you want and why you want it. I think that's a conversation that you have to have in a quiet room by yourself. Yeah. And I did that at one point in my life about like 5 years ago. So found my purpose when I was 20. Then about 5 years ago, I really sat down and I was like, okay, outside of making money, why do I want to do this? Right. And I think if you can find your true purpose, it's much easier to be disciplined. It's harder to have discipline and motivation when you're only doing it for money. But when you can do it for something outside of yourself and you can look inside of yourself and go, okay, who am I? What do I want to do? And how does this serve the world? The sky's the limit. All you need is time and discipline.
Love that, man. Love that. Yeah, you're so right. Once you start doing things for money, the wrong way to go.
Yep.
Start doing it for the reason why you started.
Yep.
That's amazing, man. Dude, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, bro.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I knew that you were going to drop a lot of like knowledge here, but
I hope I did.
Yeah, no, you absolutely did. I can't wait to get back and watch it back. It's going to, it's always really fun, super fun to do that. But let people know who are watching, who are interested in you. Maybe this is their first time seeing you. How can they find you? If they wanted to work with you, what would be that type of process?
Yeah.
And just what's next?
Yeah. So, I mean, you can find me. I'm super active on Instagram. That's, where my main platform that I focus on. So my Instagram is Michael Sheedy Fitness. I have content on TikTok. I have like 13,000 followers, but, I'm really active on Instagram. So, if you follow me, reach out to me there, follow my page for value. I post stuff, all the time in regards to health and entrepreneurship. So.
Yeah, man, you're always dropping dimes that I am loving to hear. I'm always picking something new from you.
Awesome.
So I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate all the value that you brought to the show.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Yeah,
I really
absolutely,
appreciate it.
man.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Come back next week. As always, we're going to have another great show for you. Again, if you haven't already and you're watching this to this point, you probably have, but if you haven't, please click that follow, like, or subscribe button below, and we'll see you next week.